Are you actually gonna finish the anime?
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed it. Thanks, Shani. I enjoyed it. I just fell asleep. Thank you. If there's one thing that slates need is an extra slate.
Is
just
this the camera I should be looking in?
Yeah, you can. You can look. Yeah.
Nice.
Look wherever you like. I don't restrict people's eyes to wherever they want to go. Okay, well, then there's that. And
what if I just do this the whole time the mic is right?
Hey, everybody! I am not being held against my will. Well, what's up, horror fans? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Horror Bin Podcast. I'm your host, Julian Fernandez. Here we talk. We give you our ratings, reviews, and recommendations for all things horror for your next horror movie night. Today's a very different episode. Today's a lot of firsts for us. We got our first series that we're doing, first animated series, first specifically anime series, and first-time guest, Lisa Wallen.
Yay, it's me. Hello.
Yeah.
Hi.
Lisa, thank you so much for doing the show. Appreciate it.
I was gonna say I'll take any excuse to talk about anime. Honestly.
Oh yeah.
Also, do I need to have these on?
You don't need to.
I'm going to. I want to look cool.
Yeah.
Look like
if people want to be like, she's not even really there.
Not even really here.
She even in the room?
There we go.
No.
Ooh, it's
hey.
crispy.
Crisp and clean. No caffeine.
Crispy mic time. There we go.
So you like you said, like she just said, like any chance to talk about anime.
I even wore my Chainsaw Man hat today.
Chainsaw Man hat. Spoilers. We're talking about Chainsaw Man.
Oh,
the
sorry.
anime series.
Oops.
Way to go. We do a whole thing, but here comes Lisa. I'm going to take charge. I'm a Twitch streamer. No, it's fine.
Yikes.
Just really running my show into the fucking ground. No, it's fine. It's we are talking about Chainsaw Man. Before we get to that though, Lisa, what's been your experience with horror? Because I brought this up, and then you were immediately like, "Do you talk about horror? Do you talk about anime?" And I was just like, "Is there horror anime?" And then you
say, "Okay,"
lit up.
I would say it's because you've been doing this for a while, so it's like I'm trying to think of what you haven't done yet.
A while's been like a couple of months. Let's be honest.
That's enough. That's enough. Okay, a while. Most podcasts don't even last 2 weeks. So
that is true.
I will say, well, not just that. I was like, what can I bring to the table that's more unique? Mm-hmm. That's how I always just view anything. And I play a lot of horror video games now, and then I watch a lot of anime. So I was like, what horror anime? And then it made me realize there really isn't a lot of good horror anime.
What? Because I mean, I myself, I fancy myself an anime fan as well as a horror fan, but like when you were talking about like a horror anime, like my first thoughts were like Death Note, Zom 100,
Akira, probably.
Akira, yeah. I got to rewatch Akira. I haven't seen that in a long time, but Akira, and then immediately I'm drawing blanks.
It's usually like psychological thrillers or gore.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of those. Mm-hmm. But horror specifically, I think is a little bit of a different genre, and that's why I was like, okay, what are if I was to be like, what do I think of horror anime? There's only like 5 on the top of my head, and I was like, what's something quick?
Name them.
Parasite, which is one of my favorites.
Oh,
yeah.
That's one. It's like Parasite, but with a Y.
Yeah,
okay.
That one's pretty
that one.
good. That one's like a campy horror, and then there's really bad ones like Another. It's terrible. Everyone's like, it's one of the best horror animes. It's garbage.
Stay away from Another.
Then there's like the more gory stuff like Devilman Crybaby.
I've heard of that one. I remember hearing that one and thinking like, they made a Devil May Cry show?
Yeah, Devil May Cry. They did make a Devil May Cry anime, and now they're making a new one.
What the fuck did you just say?
Yeah. You brought in the professional here.
Okay.
And then Dead Man Wonderland, but not a good anime adaptation. Then when you get to like the movie stuff, like there's the Kizumonogatari series, which is kind of horror, kind of not. But I was like, what would be like something that's like more relevant and recent that I would consider just straight horror? And I would say Chainsaw Man.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Googling it. I don't know why that thing like
this morning.
I remember Googling it
this morning
5 minutes ago, and I just caught up with the series. No, but I remember Googling it, and then one of the things was like it was like whatever year it was released, and then horror like as a genre and everything like that. But like how you were saying, like when it comes to like a lot of anime horror, it does seem more like it's more about the psychological. It's more. Oh yeah, careful. You gotta like hide. Are you trying to get it higher?
Just a little. I'm very tall.
Yeah.
There we go.
Very tall.
Okay.
You're 5'10".
Tall compared. I slouch.
This is when you finally talk to somebody who's equally your height. It's just like, you're not tall.
There we go. I'm like 6'4" in men's height, so
you're 6'4" and short king's dreams.
Yeah, there you
go. It was also funny because I told you we had a cancellation earlier, and then Channing made me realize while we were setting up that the height difference between you and the person we had scheduled is significantly different. We were like looking at the camera and just like, that's a little low. He's like, well, I had it set up for Mandy. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot.
He's a tiny baby.
I forget how tiny she is. and then I was just like, yeah.
And there's Lisa, who's literally 1.5 feet taller. So there you go.
Yeah. It's if you take Mandy, you just.
There you go. Exactly.
But like you were saying though, like the anime horror specifically does fall into that category of like not so much scares, but more gore, more psychological, and I would even throw in maybe Attack on Titan a little bit into the horror.
Oh, absolutely.
Horror bin.
It's very. I mean, horror itself. I feel like horror, as far as like movies goes, is very specific genre. But like when it comes to like anime and even like video games, it's like what the qualities are so much different because of just, I would say series in general, because we have like American Horror Story, and then. And then like Black Mirror.
We'll talk about it eventually, I'm sure.
And then Black Mirror, which is just like a genre of like horror-esque short films.
It's
really.
more Black Mirror is more on that side of sci-fi horror, and it's more just an anthology series. So so it's like it opens itself up to having that so many different interpretations.
And when you say horror films, everyone's like, they can name like 1,000 because like, oh, this is very specific to what it is because of the things that go along with it. But with anime, it's so much different because so much anime, because it's a cartoon, it can get away with a lot more of the gore stuff, a lot of the more shocking, traumatic things. And so you have to have like that sort of like that campiness that horror has to really classify it, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that.
Otherwise, every single anime that has a war in it with death would be considered horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And almost any anime that has some form of demon, devil, creature, mutant, quirk, something, some kind of super, like you could, like within the context of this show, we could technically count almost every anime as a horror.
Naruto horror.
They summon giant frogs. That's terrifying.
How they wrote female characters, absolutely terrifying. Like there you go.
Let's all be honest. Sakura is the real villain of the show.
Yeah, it's Kishimoto is for writing her. But no, yeah. So like Attack on Titan could be considered horror because like obviously there's big scary demons and then there's a lot of death and then a lot of shock. But it's like technically so much, almost every battle shown in every single anime that has that. So for me, it's like, okay, what separates like Chainsaw Man and like Parasite from these is that it has like, both of them have like this campy kind of 90s horror vibe to me, where it's kind of on the goofy side of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes me think it's horror more than anything else, because otherwise it's just another series with a lot of blood and a lot of gore.
Yeah. Yeah. I forgot because I remember you telling me like, let's do this one. And I was like, yeah, because I started it and I wasn't able to finish it. Spoiler, I still kind of haven't finished it.
It's okay.
I have a couple episodes. I fell asleep. I'm sorry. I tried to do the work for you guys.
You watched enough to know exactly like the basis, at least, of what the anime is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
there's only 13 episodes.
There's 12. I checked.
Okay. Well, bring in the expert here.
I checked and I just did not sort my time properly. But regardless of how many episodes, I enjoyed it. I really liked it. And like, you do get that campiness. A lot of it, there's a lot more humor as opposed to any kind of like horror or horror elements. I will say one of the episodes that was kind of getting me into like a bit of more of a horror vibe was when they were fighting the Infinity Demon.
Oh, the Eternal Demon?
Or
yeah.
Is it?
Where they got locked in the hotel?
Yeah. Is it Infinity or Eternity?
It's like whatever translated.
Oh, okay. It's a translation thing.
It's the same thing, yeah.
Oh, here's side note. Do you have a preference on sub or dubs?
I usually watch subtitles, but now that I'm so busy, I've been watching a lot more dub.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Unless one of my favorite like Seiyus is like voicing one of the characters because I'm big on Japanese voice actors.
No, well, not same, but I agree. Like sometimes there's anime where the original voiceover is just peak. Like, oh my god, like you hear the passion in it. So I'm like, I gotta watch.
Naruto, Sasuke.
But then on the reverse, same thing. There's some dubs that I'm like, believe it. Do you have like an anime theme like memorized, any kind of speech or anything?
I do, a bunch of them. I mean, funny thing
I only
about
have one.
Naruto is that, have you ever heard the German Naruto opening?
Yes.
So there you go. Naruto, Sasuke, he's so cool. Sakura, the beautiful.
The beautiful. That's funny. I only have Erwin's speech just before he dies. At the end
I thought I was talking about music. Oh, I have so many. Are you kidding me? I have a plethora of anime quotes in my head already.
Well, I'm talking about a whole speech.
A whole speech. In Japanese or English?
Okay, I'm going to move on because now she's showing
I do
off.
want to ask, though, because you have, before we like talk about the series, okay, because you do watch a lot of anime, but now that you've watched most of Chainsaw Man, would you consider that more horror than some of the things you've seen?
Yes.
As the expert here with the Funko Pops.
Don't start hating my Funko Pops. Don't. Listen. I've seen your Instagram. You got some stuff behind your cameras and stuff. All right.
Yeah,
I have mine.
Yeah, I just have a 30-inch statue of a video game character I want to fuck. That's fine.
And honest, well, and who really doesn't or doesn't want one of those?
Yeah, exactly. Who had money at one point?
Yeah,
there you go.
Money? What's that? But I would consider this more horror than most of the other things I've seen. I'd still say maybe just in terms of stuff I've seen, like I'd put it on the level with like Death Note.
Yeah.
And Death Note even tails that line of more of a crime thriller.
Yeah.
More so than horror, but it still has that element of, well, it's this guy killing people.
There's a serial killer, in quote, type
He's just
thing.
writing in a notebook, and there's a demon who, the only plus side to the live action is Willem Dafoe killed it as the voice for the Shinigami.
You watched the live action.
No, I watched.
I did watch the live action.
I watched everything wrong with Death Note live action.
I watched it because it's based in Seattle, and I was like, the live action is like the very end of the movie.
I did watch it, and I hated it.
It was pretty bad, but
Willem Dafoe as Ryuk was pretty good.
I think that's the only reason why anyone watched it.
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
Just hearing that, yeah.
But they did have to make him like a Redditor, which I thought was really funny. Like, it's like, this fits it. It's U.S.
Willem, are you familiar with weebs?
Yeah. You know what 4chan is? There you go.
Imagine explaining 4chan, Reddit, weebs, waifus to like an esteemed actor.
Yeah, he had to learn all of that for that role, unfortunately.
Yeah. What was I saying? I had like a thing, and then a side note tangent.
I asked you if you considered it horror, and you put it on the base of Death Note.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I would say. Yeah, it's on the same level as like Death Note. They do more so. Like the further you go into the show, like I feel like it does start leaning more into the horror. Again, obviously the gore, the animation's amazing.
Incredible.
And I'll always, for any anime, like that will usually get me, is if it, like that's the reason why I got hooked on Demon Slayer, was like the animation.
Mappa for that.
Mappa, you doing it right. That wasn't clever. Thank you. All right.
Mappa, you're underpaying your animators.
There you go. Hey.
There you go.
But one thing we haven't done yet is check out the trailer for Chainsaw Man real quick.
Oh, the trailer's so good.
I already like the...
Did you watch the trailer before the show?
No, I try my best not to watch the trailers before this, just so I can get like, all right, what's the first impression vibe? I mean, before I see any movie, I'll usually see a trailer.
This trailer is one of my favorites too.
Yeah.
Because I already read the manga, and it's like, oh, look how like kind of spooky it is. See, now this is some horror shit. Oh, so good.
Yeah.
They definitely like pulled all the strings for this. Because at first it's got like that ominous kind of like
what is happening? What is...
That was just the preview trailer too.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Perfect place to stop.
Isn't that so good?
Oh, I
no, I meant like that trailer, like, because I had already read the manga at this point, and so I was like, people have no idea what they're getting into, because it also falls in the same line as like the shonens, like, you know, like, because it's in like I read it off of my Shonen Jump like app, so it's like everyone kind of thinks, oh, the next thing it comes out like JJK, which some people call horror. I'm like, this is just Naruto for Gen Z.
No, because I remember hitting you up telling you I just finished Jujutsu, and that's not horror.
No, and that's the thing, is that people are like, yeah, but there's demons and spells and stuff, and it's like there's a different vibe. Like I said, every single shonen, even fucking Demon Slayer, hence the name.
Yeah.
Naruto, there's all demons in all of them, because they got to fight something that isn't a human, because that's just the base of like keeping things interesting.
And plus, Japanese culture weirdly like has so many like supernatural creatures like in their cryptid catalog.
Yeah. And
stuff.
they usually try to like bring that into most of those anime, because people love those themes, which is like, I was just talking to someone last night about how like dark fantasy is kind of an untapped market in Japanese.
In Japanese.
Yeah. In well, in a lot of things actually.
Yeah. I remember in the 90s, early 2000s, like you had like Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, like I would.
And then and then it just switched to like Bloodborne and Dark Souls, and that's, I'm like, those are the real horror games. But yeah, so it's like you can consider any anime that has demons and shit as horror, but like this specifically, it's like the way it's animated, the designs of like the devils and the devil hunters, it's like that to me is like, it's more on the horror side, and it's got the goofiness, because I'm gonna ramble.
Go for it.
Because the difference between that and like Attack on Titan is that I say, so like Attack on Titan, the minute you get into the series, you know it's gonna be dark, and you know it's gonna be depressing, and you're gonna watch these characters suffer throughout the whole thing. Yeah. And because of that, there's no shock value really involved with it.
After like, I'd say the second
favorite character that died, you're like, okay, they're all gonna die, right?
No, I'd say after like the second, like once they start getting into, once they Attack on Titan, once they started going out with the Survey Corps, after like that arc or that section of the series, that's when it really like stopped being so stopped being so shocking when people died.
Well, yeah, because you're immediately brought into a series that is going to be depressing. And at that point, as someone who had already seen so many anime, I was like, oh, so everyone I know is going to die.
Yeah.
But like an anime like this, where it's like, the characters are kind of more lighthearted and goofy, even though there is some very serious themes, and it starts right off the bat as like gory and horror.
Yeah.
I feel like you get more of like a shock response when those characters go through something traumatic and something that like a random death of a character versus something like Attack on Titan. Like, don't get me wrong, it's an amazing, I love Attack on Titan. It's one of my favorite animes of all time. I love the ending, but it's a thing where it's like, by the end of the series, I was like, if fucking everyone died, I would not bat an eye, you know? But like in series like this, where it's like, oh, but I'm so used to seeing them being so goofy, blah, blah, blah. And then someone dies, you're like, fuck, like it hits a little harder. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. For those that don't know, I mean, we've talking about it now for like almost 20 minutes, but for those that don't know, Chainsaw Man, following a betrayal, a young man left for dead is reborn as a powerful devil-human hybrid after merging with his pet devil, who's fucking adorable. It's on the hat.
Yeah.
And is soon enlisted into an organization dedicated to hunting devils.
Wow.
Cool.
That's a voice actor in you coming
out.
VO. We
got thanks.
Julian VO right now. Which is funny.
Hire me, please.
Which is funny because even that explanation doesn't really tell you much about the series.
They never really do.
No.
Like this will be, this is like, we're 20 some episodes in. Every time I've done any of these reading the plot synopses, half of them, I'd say even more than half of them, don't really give you an idea of what you're actually going to watch.
Yeah, and
one of the ones we just recorded was for a new movie called In a Violent Nature, and the whole idea of the movie is it's a horror slasher, kind of like Friday the 13th, but you're following the killer the entire time.
I love that.
And then like when he comes across the kids or the victims, you get the hints of the story that they're involved in, but it doesn't require the killer to be there.
I think what it is too is it's because horror plays so hard on twists that it's like we can't say too much, because like even Chainsaw Man.
That's true too. But I mean, like the way I guess just in Violent Nature specifically, that one, it's the entire movie. It never really explains it like, hey, you're just with this character the entire time. But I agree. Like, there's some stuff like you can't be like, also, there's a demon. Their name is
there's
Bahul.
Always like a plot twist involved where it's like they were dead the whole time, or this person's the killer, or blah blah blah. And I think that's what
that'd be a real damper on the Sixth Sense.
With Chainsaw
Bruce
Man,
Willis, a recently deceased man.
It's like shit. It's like that scene Always Sunny where he's like, yeah, he was Bruce Willis the whole time. He goes, that wasn't the plot twist. But like with Chainsaw Man, there is a huge plot twist which you haven't gotten to yet, so I wouldn't spoil it for you. But
I know. Let's not spoil.
But you've gone far enough series where you're like, okay, some things aren't adding up.
Yeah.
And I think those kind of plot twists, and then you go back and you rewatch old episodes or reread old chapters, and you're like, holy shit! And it makes it scarier. Like I remember at the end of Saw, those movies are so dumb, but like at the end, I rewatched Saw recently, and I was like, this movie's so stupid. But the very end where the guy wakes up in the room is like everyone's like, what the fuck? And then you rewatch it knowing he's in the room, and it's even more scary. You know what I mean? Like some shows, like when they do a big spoiler, you're like, oh, okay, but then it's hard to go back and rewatch it because you know spoiler. But when you do horror right and you know the spoiler and you go back and you're like, this guy was the killer, blah blah blah, it makes the experience better. So that's kind of how I feel about Chainsaw Man. Is like I had read through the whole manga and then watched the anime through the perspective of knowing what's gonna happen and being like, this shit's fucked up.
Yeah, that's what I'll do for Attack on Titan. Like as stuff kept on getting revealed, I was like, I gotta rewatch stuff.
Yeah,
and same thing, watching it from that idea of just like, well, I know these people betray these people. I know this person's gonna do this. I know this and that. Holy shit! Now
this is why I prefer series over movies to begin with.
Yeah,
because you can flesh out a lot more character. I mean, I guess it's different with horror because everyone's just like their jump scares and their scenes. But for me, it's like you can flesh out the characters and the ideas more, and then when you go back and rewatch it, it's like a slow burn.
Yes, yeah, I do like that. I do like a slow burn. Yeah, this is I do. I that's probably one of the things. I have work. I have to go to work after this. More work to do. But I mean, this finishing up this series is probably one of the things I'm going to be doing.
Yes. Did you have any like favorite characters or moments? I feel like I'm interviewing.
You can't what?
I'm like interviewing you now.
Well, you see, here's the thing. I mean, Denji. It's hard not to like Denji. And I feel like that's like the easy answer. But also Power is very entertaining.
I love
Power is very entertaining. I love the way she talks. I love the dialogue that she has, where it's not so much just normal speak, but there's a lot of thous and you shall and I will claim this as victory and this and that. I love it.
It's very funny because I think one thing the series as well, which you'll see like in the next season, is there's Power is a fiend, like she's a devil, like took over a human's body versus a devil who made a contract, and so she doesn't have like basic human like matters, and it's so much funnier throughout.
Manners or matters?
Manners and
right,
matters.
We appreciate grammar here.
Manters.
Right, get it together.
Yeah, and like even like this character who kind of shows up towards the end, Beam, he's a shark fiend, and so it's like these characters as they get introduced, you're like, oh yeah, like these are basically animals, and so that's why I love her character, is that she doesn't think like a human, like she's sloppy. Like she's like, yeah, you can touch my titties, I don't give a shit, like they're not mine, I'm just borrowing them. You know,
that's also the other thing too. Such a horny anime. Very very horny. Like I mean the whole reason for a lot of what Denji does is just for second base and further. Which I mean, who hasn't been
right? There? Which I actually really love. A lot of people hate it because like typical Japanese writing. I'm like, well, the thing about him is like, he was born from an abusive father that was like the guy never had anything ever in his life, and the whole show
starts off with him listing off all the stuff he's had to sell, body parts he's had to sell,
and he's 16 years old, so it's like he's going through puberty, so what's the only thing on a 16-year-old boy's mind, right?
Fucking
Yeah.
Well, it's more coming than fucking. They don't understand fucking yet.
Yeah. So he's just like, at this point, I think all I want is to have some sort of love, and you're at an impressionable age where I get fucking deep into this shit. But yeah. And you're at an impressionable age and you're going through puberty. So it's like, yeah, his only goal right now is to touch a titty and kiss somebody and cuddle, because that's what he's thinking about. I mean, he right off the bat gets like basic necessities, and Makima treats him like a fucking dog. And everyone's like, she treating you like a dog. He's like, you do know this is the best anyone's ever treated me. Like, it's kind of sad.
It is, yeah. But that's kind of why I love him. Is just I was like, yeah, he's getting the most out of everything. That's nice. All right.
I also love the designs of the devils are so badass.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
they're really cool.
These chainsaw arms.
Well, not. I'm talking about everybody and all the devils in general. But yeah,
the fox devil, the ghost devil. Who else was in the first part of the season? The katana guy. I don't know if you got to the katana guy yet.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. If not, it's hard not to. Yeah.
Spoiler. There's a guy. There's a katana devil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm liking it.
And it's cool because they always hint at like other devils that they're hunting. You're like, ooh, I can't wait to see their designs. And it's like some weird fucking H.P. Lovecraft shit.
I can't remember because I'm well into them talking about the gun devil. Do they show him by the end of this series?
Are you asking me that question and wanting a spoiler?
We'll be right back.
No, just kidding. No, actually, it's kind of the thing where it's like, in a horror movie, how they always, things they address the killer, but you never see it. You just know it's there.
Stop now. Wait, hold on. My brain started putting the puzzle together.
It's not. That's the thing. You think it is. Trust me, this series will twist your mind in places that you're like, I didn't get it.
You're hyping it up, and if I finish it and I'm not thoroughly just hyped, I will come.
You should honestly read. I don't read a ton of manga anymore, just because it's hard for me to like make the time for it.
Yeah,
is you just put on something on TV and just like watch it. But when I started reading Chainsaw Man when it came out, I've been obsessed with it. Like I'm quite a few chapters behind just from being busy, but I still am aware of all the twists and things that are coming out. And I'm like, this series is fucking wild.
Yeah.
Because Fujimoto, the guy who wrote it, he also wrote the series called Fire Punch, which I couldn't get into because it was like really edgelord gory shit that I wasn't a big fan of, but it's still an interesting story. This one obviously is catered to a younger crowd and wants to kind of break that whole edgelord thing, but it is much better writing.
Really quick, this is nothing to do with Chainsaw Man or anything. Could you define edgelord? Because I've heard like various definitions of it, and I don't know which to believe.
Edgelord to me is like when you're trying to achieve a reaction through shock, but it doesn't always come out good. It's kind of like comedians going on stage and be like, sorry if you're like offended.
Okay.
It's like that kind of like, and like to me it's always like, yeah, this person, and not even just that, edgelord's just kind of like the thing where it's like this person is trying to look like they're more intimidating than they actually are type thing. And so a lot of the writing like that in anime is just like a lot of gross dudes getting away with doing gross shit because they're like, oh, you're just too sensitive, like reading this stuff. And it's like, no, it's just not good.
Okay, because I've heard definitions where it sounds more
Let's pull it up. Definition of edgelord. I kind of want to now.
Yeah, let's see.
Let's see what the internet says.
Internet.
Guy that uses 4chan.
Edgelord, a person who affects a provocative or extreme persona, especially online, typically used of a man. Edgelords act like what does it say? Edgelords act like contrarians in the hope that everyone will admire them as rebels.
Yeah, it's like
that's a good
sentence.
A
devil's advocate that just is just a mansplainer. That's kind of like that to me. And obviously
this is the best way it's ever been explained to me.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad we Googled it, because I mean I fucking play Souls games. Like I play the peak edgelord community game.
Because that's where I'll hear it the most is through like any kind of gaming.
Like, yeah, you're supposed to be suffering.
Yeah. And then every time any context I hear it, I'm always just like, well, now I don't think it's the way someone explained it to me the first time.
But that's the thing is like things that are like shocking. Like there's a lot of scenes obviously in Chainsaw Man and also every fucking anime in existence that are good though.
Yeah.
Like something that shock value is good. Same with horror. But if it's just there to just be disgusting and to be over the top, then I'm like, everything's
got to have a rhyme or reason. Like I'm a big gore fan. When the Saw franchise was coming out, every Halloween I went to theaters to go see it because I loved it. I saw Repo the Genetic Opera because it just said from the makers of Saw.
Yeah, right.
I was a fan, but and I'm a fan in the sense that I can admit the series gets fucking goofy.
Well, it's the same thing like how we're talking about Devil May Cry a little bit earlier. Like, I love Devil May Cry because it has the edgelord kind of writing, but they know it's stupid and goofy, and it makes it hilarious.
Yeah.
Like Resident Evil 4, when Leon walks into a room full of dead bodies, he goes, I could use a steak right now. It's like, that shit, it's like when you know how dumb the writing is, that's good, edgelord.
I could use a steak right now. That's funny.
Yeah. So it's like that kind of like dumb, like, okay, if you know you're going to be ridiculous with the gore or the shock, then, and you make it goofy, then I love it even more because you're aware of how stupid it is. That's why you need to talk about video games at some point.
But I mean, like, in the sense like with like Saw or even Don't or anything like that, like I always look at everything like, yeah, it's like a lot of gore, it's a lot of like mutilation, and it was at the height of torture porn horror.
Yeah, human centipede.
Yeah,
shit.
But I have my limits. Like, there's only so much that I can be like, okay, well, this is just ridiculous now. Like, you're doing way too much. Either commit to doing a lot or commit to doing a limited
balance it in some way or make it funny. That's how
everything should have a rhyme and a reason.
Like if Human Centipede was like a goofy movie.
Whoops, I have sewn your mouse to your buttholes. Oh, my bad.
I'd be like, oh, that's funny. You know?
Oh, they're slipping. Three Stooges sound effects.
I hope somebody made like an edit of like every single like gross horror movie, but with like funny sound effects. I would watch all of them. Yeah, there you go. It's
just every Saw movie, just every trap that every time someone fails, just that womp womp music.
Yeah, it's just like a little rim shot in the background. So dumb.
Love it though.
Anyway, Chainsaw Man, great.
Chainsaw Man's great. We've been going all over. This has been a lot of fun. We gotta wrap it up. Before we do, we gotta get to our rankings and ratings. Since this is a series, obviously it's kind of like all encompassing. We could go like episode by episode, but I think that would take forever. But all around as a series, 1 to 10, what would you rank it? I feel like I already know what number you're picking.
I'd put like an 8.
Okay, I overshot it. But I would agree. 8. It's a fun series. It's very enjoyable. If you're an anime fan,
yeah.
Especially.
I would say mainly because they've only done the first part.
Mm-hmm.
But so far, it's been pretty solid. Yeah. So.
And then this one, so I'd agree like around 8, 7.5, 8, somewhere around there.
Okay. I
like throwing out 0.5s. I'm sorry.
Okay, edgelord. Anyways.
Oh, no! In terms of scary rating, 1 being Hotel Transylvania, 10 being the scariest thing you've ever seen. Where are you putting this?
I would say more on the spooky more than scary. Mm-hmm. I'd probably put probably a 6.5 to a 7.
Really?
Yeah. It does get a lot more later on, but I would say that there's some good spooks in there.
Okay. But I'm putting it more around 4.
Yeah.
Just because, like you said, there's a lot more fun goofiness to it as opposed to just straight horror.
Yeah.
But in terms of it being scary, like the Infinity Demon or Infinite Demon or whatever, the hotel part, that part actually did kind of get me a little nervous because I do have a genuine fear of like being trapped in like more so in a dream, like being like you're aware that you're dreaming, but you cannot for the life of you find a way to get out of the dream. And even like there's a moment if you wake up and you're like, I'm still dreaming. Like that's genuinely, I'm like, that's terrifying. And same thing, like if you're trapped in just supernaturally, if you're trapped someplace with no way out, like I'm like, that's
I guess it would define whatever spooks you is where you put the level.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm thinking in the long run and versus if it was just this anime, it'd be on the lower.
If you're looking at it from the long run, then I'm very excited to keep watching and finishing it up, and hopefully more comes out.
Yeah.
That is the downside, is like I never know when new series or new seasons
I barely do
out.
either, and I'm supposed to be doing this as a living, so
And now we do have our metaphorical horror bargain bin of movies and now series. This will be the first one we're adding. But so the way it works is we have the top part of the bin, which is for like the best of the best. This is like you got your Scream, Friday the 13th, other movies. No, you got your class. You like your easy go-tos. Like these are no-brainers. If you're looking for a horror movie night or just a horror night, these are the ones you pick. Second layer is those movies that are good, just not great. Third one is they're okay. They're more hidden treasures, stuff you like. Oh, I found this. Cool. We'll give it a watch. Bottom of the bin is you should never see.
Oh, you're gonna hate what I put on the bottom of the bin.
Ooh, what you're gonna put on the bottom of the bin? Well, let me see. Let me hear where you're putting Chainsaw Man.
Well, my favorite Chainsaw Man. I'd put if you're like looking for horror.
And I'll say this also, just for series specifically, they have kind of like their own part of the bin.
It's hard to rate this because it is comparing it to other horror anime versus horror. Because if it's horror, I'm not gonna watch this as a horror series to begin with. But I'm comparing it to other anime. I'd put it like on the second level.
Okay.
Because for me, top level is like Kizumonogatari, which we can talk about one other day.
Listen, this episode was fun. I'm having you back. Don't worry about it.
For video games.
I do video games.
I'm doing your whole podcast now.
All right. Well, this has been Horror Bin with Lisa Wallen. So you're saying in terms of just strictly an anime horror, this would be like the second layer?
I probably put pretty high up. But as far as like if you just want to have like a horror movie night and you want to watch something good, or movie horror series night, I probably wouldn't put Chainsaw Man up there. Okay. But I also wouldn't put a lot of series up there. It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to rate.
Yeah. It really is. But I mean, again, if you're an anime fan,
MILF Manor, number one for horror
MILF
series.
Manor?
Yeah, and then we'll do.
I just watched someone recap that whole show. How crazy.
Gross.
Yeah, and gross. Yeah, crazy, but also real gross. But yeah, I would agree with that in terms of like a series specifically, not even counting all the horror movies specifically we've talked about, but just series. And anime wise, I'd put it at the second level. It is enjoyable. If you're an anime fan, I think you'll love it. If you're a horror fan, I think you might enjoy it. I don't think it'd be really something that if you're looking for more scares, yeah. If you're looking for scares and stuff, I don't think you'd enjoy it as much as a horror fan. But as aesthetically, I think horror fans would love it.
I think if anyone who likes campy Scream type horror would love it.
Me.
That's how I am.
Yeah. And then what kind of you're planning a horror movie night or a horror show night or whatever. I feel like for you this could be any night, but when's like the ideal time to watch this? What's like the perfect setting to watch this series?
At night. I don't like watching. I'm not a big fan of watching anything gory or scary or spooky or horror in the daytime anyways. It's like you gotta have the mood set.
Have you seen Midsommar?
Yes.
That one's the only horror movie that I'm like, you should watch. It should be watched during the day.
I watched that on shrooms too, so I didn't know if it was the director doing that or me. So I was like, wow, I'm fucking tripping. Twice.
I don't know if I watched the greatest horror movie of all time or if I've I have a great brain. I don't know. Okay, cool. All right, so we have it. Yeah. I like where this is at. Lisa, thank you so much for bringing this in.
Thank you for having me.
Like I said, I mean, sometimes half the time I'm looking at the clock just to double check. Barely even looked at the clock. This was a lot of fun. You got your camera here. You got get both cameras there. Let the people know where they can find you, what you got going on.
I do stand-up comedy as well. I do a couple headlining spots a month outside the state of California, but you can find me mainly on Twitch, twitch.tv/WISALALLEN. I say that a lot out loud. It's my name, but with my initials switched around. So find me on Twitch. I stream 3 nights a week, and I do play a lot of horror stuff. So
yeah, so check her out. We'll have all the links and everything. I'll have to listen carefully so I can spell it out right. But we'll have all the links and everything for Lisa on the description and all that. You guys can find me on all the things, Julian F. Comedy, julianfcomedy.com for all my show dates and tour dates. You guys can follow this podcast at Horror Bin Pod on Instagram. And at this point, I mean, eventually we'll get on TikTok. But I mean, if you want to It's there. It exists. It just doesn't have any videos on there. And then also let us know what you thought of the show. Let us know what movies or TV shows now you want to see us cover. And who knows, your suggestion might be featured on a next episode. But again, Lisa, thank you so much for being on the show. Really appreciate it. And as we say at the end of every episode, couldn't think of anything. Chainsaws. Yeah. Bye.